I asked Microsoft 365 Copilot to summarize these emails. It keeps failing. It comes back and tells me with the utmost confidence that, hey, there has been no emails sent to this distribution list in the last 24 hours. There's 100 emails sitting there. I can see it. I have it in a folder. I even tell you the folder. And the thing is, if I wrote a Power Automate flow and then it would give me an error that it couldn't find it or couldn't read it. So I know there's an error. Copilots and these AI tools, they have that confidence level that it's like, oh, nothing exists. So as an end user, I'm like, okay, nothing must exist. Something truly exists. So this is where I think this is I know going down a deep rabbit hole here, but this is my frustration with some of these tools where, especially the AI, the Copilot, there is this implicit arrogance of, yes, this is how it is. And it's like, no, that's not how it is. So from an end customer's perspective, you want to get them on board. You got to start building trust in these tools. And if Copilot can't do something, it's got to come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't read. I couldn't find emails. I can't read the emails, as opposed to saying, nope, there's nothing there.
Welcome, everyone, to the PowerPlatform Boost podcast, your weekly source of news and updates from the world of the Power Platform and the Microsoft community, with your host, Nick Dolman and Ulrika Ackerbeck.
Hi, Nick. Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess so. The cat was visiting.
Show Cleo did she jump down? No, okay.
Don't worry, she'll be back. I'm pretty sure.
She'll be back. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Power Platform Boost podcast and cat podcast and everything. All right, Nick. So how are you?
I'm good. We had a few technical issues this morning, so that's why I'm set up in my alternate studio here this morning. And it's also family day here in Canada. So that's why the rest of my family is sleeping upstairs. So I'm not, so they're not having to listen to our recording this morning. They're sleeping in. But overall, I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. I'm good. Thank you. It's a winter holiday here this week, so the kids are off of school. Luckily, Herman does still have his after-school program because he was kind of running up the walls from being home alone this morning. So I put him there, and then we record, and then afterwards we're going to go cross-country skiing because it's pretty cold still, and the sun is out, but it's they have fake snow up at Ahtahytta. So that's where we're going to go later.
Oh, because I have probably about 3 feet of real snow on my yard right now. We had 2 major snowstorms, one earlier this week, one last night. I love it. I love the snowblower.
Yeah,
it's very
good to use the snowblower.
Snowblower. So we do have, it's like minus 15. We have a pile of snow. Like I said, it's family day. It is here in Ottawa. There's a winter festival called Winterlude. We may or may not go and check that out because usually there's a lot of people. But I think, and I sent you a picture the other day. For those of you who don't know, in Ottawa, we have the world record for the longest skating rink. There's a canal that goes through Ottawa. Every year that freezes, they make it into a skating rink. They flood it. They make it smooth. You can get hot chocolate and beaver tails, and you can just skate for like many, many miles or kilometers. And you see people years ago when I worked downtown, you would see people going to work with skates over their shoulders because they would skate from home to work.
That's
and
fantastic.
What's really funny, you see people in military uniform because in the capital city, of course, the national defense is here. So you'd see guys in full military gear wearing skates over their shoulders. Like, how Canadian is that, really?
Yeah, it doesn't get more Canadian than that, really. So that's that's so cool. I hope if you do, just take a little short video. Maybe we can add it after the thing on the podcast so everyone else can see.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's really, really pretty. I've seen pictures, so it looks so awesome. All right. But there are other cool things to talk about today as well. We have a list as long as ever with news and updates from the community. And also, did you see the massive kind of what with Rory's poem and the thing we did last time was so much fun. I really enjoyed that, and talked to Rory a little bit afterwards, and he really liked it. So it's good to do that for people, I think.
Absolutely.
No poems this time though. So maybe next time, we'll see. Okay, so let's dive into the news and updates. First on my list is, because now you structured it so that we go PowerApps, Power Pages, Power Automate, stuff like that. First on my list is PowerApps, and a post actually on LinkedIn from a guy called Tulu Victor Sanvulu, where he asks, what's your biggest challenge with PowerApps graphics? And kind of the thing behind it is that now we've had kind of 3 generations of Canvas app graphics from Gen 1, kind of the out of the box components looks like something from the 90s. You've seen the default Canvas apps, doesn't really look all that good. Then you have Gen 2 with the modern controls, and then also the first controls, and then you have kind of the layouts and the modern grid components that makes it kind of adjustable to the screen size, and there's a lot of modern ways to work with that. And then of course you have Gen 3, which is the modern controls with AI and other capabilities. And he's also kind of nodding to an announcement made from our friend Claudio Romano, who made an announcement, I think it's January 17th or something, where they announced the GA of the most commonly used modern controls. So now you'll have things like I put it down here just to be sure I got everything. So you have text and text input, number input, combo box, state picker, and form, which is now completely modern. But still, even though we have all of these modern controls and it now looks a bit more sexy and up to date than kind of what we used to have, people still struggle with it. So his kind of question to the audience was, even though you have all of these tools, what is it that you struggle most with? And I said for him, it's kind of color combination is still kind of a gotcha. So just got the conversation going, I think. And he got a lot of comments in the LinkedIn chat as well from different people in the community. I chimed in a little bit as well. But Nick, what would be your kind of biggest challenge with PowerApps, Canvas apps in terms of the graphics?
You've seen my design skills, right? Very, but I think the colors is a good one, because even you see sort of the mix and match of colors. It can look almost jarring to look at a particular app. Like I like something very, very neutral, like not neutral, but very kind of something that flows well together. Of course, really it's the user experience, like making sure that you're not jumping all over the place, and and just making these apps look professional. Like I did see the post. I did see he had a couple of before and after, or sort of the evolution of things. And one looks like, a Canvas app that maybe I would make. And then you see something that, wow, that looks like something professional from an app store. So you can really see the, and it's like these little things do make a huge difference in terms of user satisfaction. Again, I know for me, I'm very functional. I want to make sure the app works. But also, I think that once you kind of get these aesthetics and things out of the way, and of course, this is evolving as well. I don't do a ton of Canvas apps purely on their own. I do embedded custom pages where you're trying to, in a custom page situation, you're trying to kind of match at least a little bit of the look and feel of the overall model-driven app that you're embedding in, because that could look really weird too if all of a sudden you have this other window popping up that looks completely different. The end user is going to question, wait a minute, am I in the same app? Because of the differences. So yeah, it was a great post. It's something that I've definitely saved and for when I do have to dive into some of these design decisions and make it better. It is something I am working on. It is on my bucket list of things to get more ramped up on modern web design and look and feel and that kind of stuff. I know it's a weak area for me, but you can't know everything, and I rely on very smart people and very talented people like yourself to make things look good. But it's something I think all of us could aspire to get better at.
Yeah, thank you. But and for me, I think kind of I think I've cheated in this area a little bit, because I have the training from school in terms of color theory. that I know which color goes together and kind of have the theoretical foundation to understand how the user navigates with their eyes and how they kind of look across the screen and what's important, the stop effect, the things that go together and doesn't. But you look at the picture that he has in that post, like I said, the first picture is kind of Gen 1, where you just put the elements on the page and you don't really think about it. And the next one is, of course, a lot better in terms of the graphic, but also I'm curious to how much work actually goes into making an app that looks like because that's second and third generation graphics. Because before, and as you know, so Christine Koloneski, for instance, she was kind of one of the first one in terms of my feed, at least, who dived into the more custom graphic UI and Canvas apps, but she relied heavily on the HTML component and created it using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's very much my home base in terms of what I know, coming from web development. But I'm curious how much of these, the things that we see in the second screenshot is actually out of the box components, because I don't work with Canvas apps a lot either. So for me, it's still one of those things that I need to dive more into, and I can't wait to to actually have a Canvas app project on my hands so that I can dive more into it. But also, it's great. It's funny because in his post it says, "So repost. Can we stop with first gen apps for good?" And you make an interesting point, because Canvas apps and the designer around it, right? It's the same one for custom pages.
Mhm.
So the components, they cross over, right?
We should, yeah.
Yeah. So then you can't really remove it because you're dependent on the old kind of interface to make it look like a model-driven app, for instance. You still have to have some of that so that it can align, because I completely agree with you. If you suddenly draw, or you put a modern UI Canvas app or custom page into a model-driven app, it will look very odd. So you need to make sure that the UI that you have in model-driven apps, so you can kind of match that in Canvas apps as well, because it's an important thing. So it is not to say that we can just kind of get rid of the first gen altogether, but sure, moving in that direction, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah. So next on the list is, and I hope that you know more about this than I do, because this is where I'm getting walking on thin ice. PowerFx Functions used to be called low-code plugins, which didn't even make it out of preview before they changed the name. So if you see functions or PowerFx Functions, it is what used to be low-code plugins. And I'm told that kind of the plugin word scared people off because that's so pro-codey that they removed it purposefully to call it functions. And now you can also reuse them across Canvas apps and Power Automate. So how much have you kind of worked with this, Nick?
A little bit at the start when they first came out, definitely played around with it. And I did find that there was some limitations. It became very obvious, the limitations compared to what we would call traditional plugins that we would write in C# code and .NET. And of course those are trigger words for people that are very low code. But I could see where the evolution is going. It was pretty exciting because I thought, oh, wow, if we can get to a point where I can just go into the regular Maker portal and actually build my functionality using PowerFx, not that I don't like writing plugins, but in my particular role, I haven't written honestly, and we've talked about this before, I haven't written a plugin in like 4 or 5 years. So because I've been involved in projects where I've had other access to other developers, I understand how it works. I could write a plugin if I was forced to, but it is something that I don't do every day. So it's a case of, that, okay, I need to relearn or remember stuff to get into it. PowerFx Functions is great because if you're already using PowerFx in different areas, and I'm beginning to find that, we talked about Canvas apps previously, but PowerFx is now beginning to pop its head a little bit into Power Pages. It's showing up in the commanding when we're doing the command bar stuff. And of course, in the custom pages as well, there's PowerFx. So again, we can extend this. So yeah, I did a video on using the low code plugins in Power Pages and how all that works. Probably last year, or the year before, if I remember. But now seeing what's coming with the PowerFx Functions and also seeing Matthew's post on being able to call these directly from a flow, that's also pretty exciting because now we're getting into the world where we were before with classic workflows. With classic workflows, you're able to create what they call workflow plugins or something like that. It was a special plugin that you would call from a classic workflow, where it'd be this whole world, and that opened up a lot of opportunities. This is now being brought into Power Automate as well. So you can write a PowerFx function that's reusable, and you can actually call it from a Power Automate flow, which is really cool. This to me we're just in the tip of the iceberg with some of this stuff. We even have our friend like Sarah Lagerquist has done presentations. I think she did one in Tallinn on the new PowerFx functions as well. So we're really getting, we're bringing a lot of that power that before was very much limited to the pro developers, bringing it into the hands of the low code makers, which is great. But and again, we still need developers, and letting developers again focus on those more advanced scenarios. So again, it's just sort of a shifting of work, because really good developers are hard to find. I do know very good developers, but they're always super busy. They're always tied up in other projects. So the more we can kind of bring some of that down to the regular low code maker folks, PowerFx functions is a great way to do that. So I'm excited to see the evolution of this.
Yeah, me too. And also the fact that you can add it to solutions. I think that's also one of the major things, right? So you can, and I tried it out. I just went into one of the solutions I had. I took, add new, and the functions, they're in the automation thing. It showed up, and I can select sources. I can select inputs and outputs, and I can choose which tables in Dataverse, for instance, that they're going to connect to. And then I can write my PowerFX function. And that was really neat. Even I could do it, right? So what it was missing actually for once, and hold onto your socks. For once, I missed the Copilot thing because I'm not good at writing PowerFX. And I'm used to working with Power Automate, where the prompt thing asks me, what is it you really want to do? And I say, I want to calculate how these two fields together. And it says, here you go. And it gives me the PowerFX function.
Yeah.
It wasn't in there. So I was like, oh no, now what do I do? I have to write this PowerFX on my own from scratch? Where's my Copilot? And then there was the first time in forever that I had actually missed the Copilot. So there you go.
There you go.
Even for me, there's hope.
You had to write your own code like a chump.
I know, right? Where do I start? I don't even know where to start. Oh, it's so much fun. But now, of course. But this is still in preview, though. So kind of use it with care. Don't use it in production. And do what we say, not what we do. Et cetera, et cetera. My dad always used to say that when I was young, when I was a kid, and I said, "Well, you do it." He said, "Do like I say, not like I do."
Oh, it's in the dad's book. I say that to my daughter all the time. Like, do as I say, not as I do.
I hated it. I made a vow that day to never say that to my kids, but maybe. And actually, something else. Okay, so talking about things that I have no idea what it means. This is one. Okay, so this is for all you Dynamics 365 customer insights people. I saw a post this week from Megan Walker on LinkedIn. It was a post, and it just said, finally. And there's a screenshot of something in customer insights, and the whole comment section is of people in Swedish and Danish and Norwegian going, oh, it's here? Does that mean what I think it means? And people going, yes, it's finally here. I have no idea what it is, but I thought if this many important people thinks this is awesome, I'm going to highlight it. So this is what the screenshot is. You have customer insights, a model-driven app open. You're in the customer insights. You have on the far bottom, you have assets, libraries, email template, task templates. You got form templates. You open that. And then you can select active form templates on the top. So you kind of have a view selector thing at the far top. And you can see galleries and custom templates and favorites and stuff. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
I mean, Nick, finally, it's here.
It is. It's funny. I like Megan, who's like, hooray. And then IFK, IFYKYK, like, if you know, you know. Like, I'm not sure if there's that scene in the latest Spider-Man movie where the three Spider-Mans from the different multiverse are together, and the Tom Holland Spider-Man says, oh, I was once part of the Avengers. And the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was like, wow, that's so cool. What is that? That's how I feel.
Yeah. No, so let's just be a part of it. Like, woo!
Yep,
Finally,
yes. Celebrate the wins. Yeah,
whoa!
This is awesome.
Awesome. It has a lot of comments. I love it. Go marketing people. Sorry, customer insights people. Whoop.
And Jeremy's. Right. This goes, no, like in all seriousness, this goes to show the breadth and the depth of the Power Platform. And again, we've said this before, you cannot be an expert in the entire Power Platform. There are so many areas. Market, like, or customer insights and journeys is one of them. And as you know, because I've been ranting about it, I've been fighting with some of those solutions this week in our own project of things that are getting deprecated and re-added and trying to introduce all sorts of dependency issues. So I'm seeing a bit of the back end of all of this going, but again, it shows that this is a very important piece of the Power Platform. It's used by a lot of people. It's very powerful what it does. I mean, I understand what it does, but just the whole getting there kind of thing. So anyways, this, if Megan says this is awesome news, it's awesome news.
It's awesome news. Exactly. Yeah. And the thing that you're now bashing your head against, that you inherited that from me, and you've gotten further in a week than I did in 3 months. So kudos to you.
That was me having a meltdown on Microsoft support.
Yeah. And I watched that from afar thinking, oh, I'm so happy that that's you and not me, because I am Norwegian and you are Canadian and they are lucky it's your call. And then I counted slowly backwards from 10. So let's move on to another kind of existential question. And I feel Sean Asterkin is full of these lately. So this is another one. SharePoint and Thomas Sunser, please take a breath. We're just kidding. SharePoint versus Dataverse. What do you think?
So I mean, I am very much the like, friends don't let friends use SharePoint as a pure data source. Now I get why. And here's to me, the sort of dividing line. And Sean, and we love you, Sean, but you are a bit of a shit disturber. You know that, right?
I think it does it on purpose, to be honest.
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah. But that's how he rolls, man. So
yeah, it's good marketing. Sean, you get mentioned on podcasts.
Yes.
There's Sean's no great. Such thing as bad press.
Yes. I hung out with Sean in Chicago at Ignite. He's a super smart guy. Very, like, he just fits in with our crew so well. He helped out with the labs. He was one of the proctors. Very knowledgeable. But yeah, he does kind of throw, like, there's certain topics that so here's Nick's lesson on how to get a lot of things on LinkedIn. Just post something very controversial. Just put managed versus unmanaged solutions. What do you think? And then just get everybody to pile up and do whatever. But he talks about, and my thing with Dataverse, if you're building anything enterprise where it's in a company, even in a, even a small, medium business, if you're working in a team where you're working on an application that needs data storage and needs security, Dataverse is the obvious choice. As soon as someone starts saying, well, price and licensing, like, come on, it's less than cost of a cup of coffee per employee per month, per day, per month kind of thing. So again, it's like we said last episode, it depends. But for the most case, if it is an enterprise or business solution, Dataverse is the way to go. If you're building a Power App more for yourself, and again, this is where if it's more of a personal productivity type app that you're building, then yeah, doing it against the SharePoint list is probably very acceptable. And I know that's blasphemy based on things I've said before, but really, the right tool for the right job, even if it's an Excel online list, if it's something very simple. But as soon as you start expanding to more than a few people where there is some issues where you want to make sure your data is protected, Dataverse is the way to go. Now, Sean does have a lot of like pros and cons listed here. You can read his post on that, contribute to your own ideas. He even has a little chart here, the pros and cons and the whole little, Gartner style chart there. So yeah, it's also one of these things that like it really comes down to, it depends on what you're building. That's my attitude toward it. If I'm building anything in PowerApps for me, like for customers or even mini projects, I'm using Dataverse because I've been working with it for 20 years. I know how it works. I know how the security's set up. I know the table relationships. I know all of this stuff. SharePoint, to me, I use it like document storage, those types of things, intranets. I know SharePoint, when you say SharePoint, it actually has a whole bunch of different things it can do. There's things that it used to be able to do that it can't do anymore. So in all, the end of the day, right tool for the right job.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to be a SharePoint consultant in my previous life, and even I know that. And I've seen some crazy shit. To be honest, I mean, people creating relational databases using SharePoint. I mean, SharePoint lists aren't a database, people. Come on, even though you have rows and columns, it's not a relational table. So, I mean, but you can do it if you know how to create workarounds. Even last week, I saw a customer who they are very cost conscious, and he's created so many cool apps and solutions using SharePoint as a database. It works until he reaches a 2,000 row limit, and then he has to do some creative something. And I'm in awe of this guy, what he's actually been able to do, but I'm also worried. It's like you said, he needs more bandwidth because now he's the only one who knows how any of this works. Sure. And then last summer when he was on holiday in Greece, they hit the 2,000 limit, and he had to kind of grab his computer and get off from the beach because he was the only one who could do anything about it. So, I mean, there are things that you should use SharePoint for, but as a database, no, it's a no-go. Documents,
Yep.
Sure. So yeah, right thing for the right tool for the right job. I think that's kind of what we're preaching. But it's fun to see this kind of side-by-side comparisons. What is the pros, what is the cons, and how to kind of know. And from a high level, if you have no idea what any of this is, of course, this will help. So good job, Sean, and keep the PR stuff coming. We'll continue to shout your name in this podcast.
Yep.
Also, speaking, I think this is going to be the episode called Ulrike talks about things she has no idea about, but thinks is really cool. Because Copilot's an AI, guys. I tuned into Powerful Devs last week, and I saw this. And first of all, Scott and Kendra, very good job at kind of bringing everything together. And I saw Scott's video from behind the scenes. That was a lot of fun to see how all this come together. Robin did a huge job at kind of managing the back office. It looks so much fun. And also, if you're and Magnus did something did a session or something, and we had Leon coming on announcing new capabilities for PCF Copilot APIs, for instance, right? I don't know the first thing about it. So I kind of dove in to see what this is. Okay. PCF Copilot APIs announced new Copilot APIs for PCF and client API developers. So from what I can understand, this is going to enable pro developers to create inline AI-driven experiences powered by Copilot Studio Agent in a PCF component, right? And then, so there's an announcement. There's a guy called Hemant Gaur. He posted on LinkedIn, grabbed the announcement from Leon from Powerful Devs conference, pulled it into LinkedIn and kind of talked a little bit about it, and then also highlighted the URL for how to sign up for the private preview of this. So you would we have the links in the show notes. If this is for you, you can sign up for the private preview now. But even with his description and Leo's description, I don't know PCFs. I'm not that familiar with Copilot Studio yet to understand what this can unlock. And also, looking at the comment section of the post that Hemant posted, nor can anyone else. So it's one of those things where everyone goes, what? Whoa! Awesome! Fantastic! Whoop, whoop, whoop! What can we use it for? And there's crickets. And I go, no wonder I don't understand it. So I'm like, and I love these announcements, right? And it kind of baffles me that there's not a lot of use cases out. And actually someone also wrote that as a comment on Hemant's post, like, great. What are you going to use it for? And he's like, I don't know. So this is a challenge for me to all of you listening. If you can tell me what you can use this for, and no, Scott, you cannot answer, then let me know and I'll talk about it on the next episode. How's that? Because I'm really curious, and this is a way for me to learn what is the big deal. What does this enable? What does this unlock that we couldn't do before? Help me understand, please. So I'm looking forward to getting smushed by a million gazillion messages from people going, this is so obvious. This is the use case. This is what you want to use it for. This is what I couldn't do before that this enables me to do, etc., etc., etc. Right? Go, people, go.
Yep, go. I mean, I have some ideas, but I haven't.
Shoot. I didn't know you worked with this so much. So you kind of had this so all.
No, I don't. I just say in terms of ideas. Let's say, like, all I can think of. Let's say if you're doing a PCF control. Let's say, sorry, think of a PCF control that we've used before, rich text editor, for example. That's a PCF control that you apply to text. There, potentially, could you actually have that tied into AI, to a Copilot, to actually, to help summarize this text or help me write this text out a little bit better? Or, I'm spitballing here because I don't write. Like I said, we talked about we have to learn how to write PCFs. This is sort of the first thing that kind of comes to mind, because even now, built into your browser, I have this little Copilot. You want me to clean up your text or summarize the text that you just wrote. I could see that being built into something like that, being built into a PCF control, or, so either some sort of calculations, or, be able to paste in something, extract certain values out of a block of text you might paste into a control, those types of things. Again, I don't know, maybe I'm completely off base here, but that's just sort of the ideas that are beginning to pop up in my head on building something like this, building that within a model-driven app, trying to do some of the stuff that I've been trying to experiment with as well. And I'm still at a stage where I'm experimenting with stuff. I'm building some stuff and I'm like, is this really the right tool? There should be a better way. This to me seems like a pure Power Automate thing, or that kind of thing. So that's just kind of going off the Copilot Studio side. But yeah, I think this is a good discussion to have. Yes, there's a lot of great tech, but give me what you can do with this. Look at like customer service and what they've built in there in terms of being able to locate and find information, whatever. Yeah, that's great. I get that totally. But what are some of the day-to-day stuff that we can use this stuff for? And I think that's where we need to be right now to get people really on board and excited about this. The days of demoing yes, you can do, here's what Copilot can do on a conference stage. That's great. Give me some real world and beyond the customer service side and beyond the sales side. Yes, those are great scenarios. But what else can we do with it? I mean, we've talked about this too in our own projects in terms of, volunteer matching and that kind of stuff. I think that exists, but there's where you take that scenario and yes, we can begin even to build that into the app a little bit, potentially with some of these controls, I think.
Yeah, but I'm also waiting for the customers to be more in line with this and be more mature. I can't tell you how many times in the last year I've demoed the simplest use case, the thing that AI Builder could do for years and years already. And the customer goes, awesome. Yeah, that looks so cool. Let's put that on ice for now and let's get the MVP up and running first, and then we'll readdress the AI later. And I go, please don't, because this AI Builder thing is going to save you and your end users so much time if we start with this, that to implement it later means we have to do the same work twice. Why wait? And they go, well, it's us. We're not really that mature and we're not sure if our users are ready for AI yet. And it's like, well, actually the user don't know they're using AI. They simply upload an image. So the work we do is on the back, and they go, no, we're not ready. It's like, well, where do you go from there? I mean, it frustrates the crap out of me because I want to start working with this, right? And it's only so far I can go on my own. I have implemented a few things on my own, and it's fun and all that, but that's not where the learning is for me. Going, like you said, going through the learning material, fine. Setting up some small things for you on your own, doing it on a hackathon, fun. But actually, when the kind of the rubber hits the road in a real world project where you hit those little nitty gritty, that's where I actually learned the most. And it's kind of, can't get the ball rolling.
My biggest challenge with all of this, and I think we might have talked about this before. So, for instance, let's say so for those of you, and I do want to talk some about the MVP program, but we're on distribution lists. We get discussions on particular product groups every day. There's a distribution list. Emails come in, people asking questions, product managers clarifying things, that kind of thing. Very interesting. A lot of great information. But these, as you know yourself, these distribution lists can result in dozens, if not hundreds, of emails per day. I don't have time to read through these emails. Oh, wait a minute. I can use Copilot to summarize that for me. I asked Microsoft 365 Copilot to summarize these emails. It keeps failing. It comes back and tells me with the utmost confidence that, hey, there has been no emails sent to this distribution list in the last 24 hours. There's 100 emails sitting there. I can see it. I have it in a folder. I even tell you the folder. And the thing is, if I wrote a Power Automate flow, and then it would give me an error that it couldn't find it or couldn't read it. So I know there's an error. Copilots and these AI tools, they have that confidence level that it's like, oh, nothing exists. So as an end user, I'm like, okay, nothing must exist. Something truly exists. So this is where I think this is I know going down a deep rabbit hole here, but this is my frustration with some of these tools where, especially the AI, the Copilot, there is this implicit arrogance of, yes, this is how it is. And it's like, no, that's not how it is. So from an end customer's perspective, you want to get them on board. You got to start building trust in these tools. And if Copilot can't do something, it's got to come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't read. I couldn't find emails. I can't read the emails, as opposed to saying, nope,
nothing
there's
there.
nothing there.
I know.
It drives me bananas. And I even pinged, I know, Daniel, I sent you the screenshots and like, how the F do I get this working? And even anyways, so that's just sort of, I know I'm kind of, I love these tools. Sometimes I had this, this comma separated file. I'll throw it at Copilot or ChatGPT and say, format this into a nice table. It will do all that. I put together a whole big training plan. I want to cover this, put it in a training plan, break it out for the number of weeks, do this, do that. Like this kind of stuff. It's great because, this is that part of AI I absolutely love. It's actually saved me tons of time. Putting together plans, putting in agendas, reiterating on that. Again, for those of you who don't subscribe to Donna and Jeremiah's Third Rodeo weekly newsletter, it is so good. Every week they come with different scenarios for stuff to try and to learn. I've learned so much from their newsletter. We should probably put a link into that again. Those types of things are great. But now we're into the scenarios where we're trying to build these and trying to incorporate into our own tools. And it's a struggle. That part. So it's struggling for us to get things working. From an end customer, they're not seeing the value because the value is it's I don't want to say broken. In certain it's working, but other areas it's not, where we're being marketed that it is fantastic. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place on this one, but.
No, it's absolutely fine. And because I think a lot of people will find this useful because it kind of speaks to what they're going through. And we are honest about these things. We don't give you just a sugar-coated marketing message because we live and breathe this every single day. And actually, let's just kind of pick up that a little bit, because we are talking about powerful devs, and we're talking about hackathons and how to make AI work. And there is going to be a powerful devs hack for a couple of weeks. So if we're going to,
it's actually, you can sign. It has started this past weekend. I think you can still sign up.
Yeah, and there's the deadline as 1st of March, isn't it? Yeah. So we're going to put a link to it. And also on the Powerful Devs conference, Robin talks about the hack. So I'll just put a link to that in the show notes where you can sign up and what's expected and what you need to do. And there needs to be you submit a video kind of going through the solution that you made. And I read somewhere, Nick, that you will be a judge.
Yeah, and you're a judge as well?
Yeah, I was asked to be, and I was a bit late responding, so we'll see. Maybe I'm a judge. Okay. I didn't really hear back, so I'm just pinging Daniel as we speak, and he's like, I'm going to check, and then we'll see. Maybe I'm a judge, maybe I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, even though I hope I get in, and I hope I can be a judge to see all the crazy submissions coming in. Because also for us, it's a nice way to kind of see what people are actually working with. What's the use cases? Exactly the way we talk about.
And real world use cases, it just shut us. If you can come up with real world use cases that are awesome, I'm more than happy to we're more than happy to show those off and tell the world.
Oh, definitely. So if we're both judges, or of course, even if you're just a judge, and then the next episode after we're finished, let's highlight the top things that we saw, because that is exactly kind of the solution to the things that we've been ranting about this episode, I think. Isn't it? I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're kind of running way over. You have a couple of things here.
Okay. Yeah, there was something. I won't dive too much into it because, again, if you're building, you want to learn, if you're more of a from a pro dev aspect of it, using AI Foundry, there is building AI agents for beginners. I think Donna posted that somewhere, and it's actually a GitHub repo that has a bunch of lessons to go through. And that's more going beyond the Copilot Studio side. This is going into the pro code. If that's your jam, check that out. I think that looks pretty interesting. Speaking of building AI agents, our good friend Lisa Crosby posted a video this week. I love her videos. She is my calming voice on all of this because I'll watch her stuff and she can make sense to me after watching some of her videos. So she's done one of building AI agents. Which tools should you use? Including the pro dev stuff, which I know Lisa's that's not exactly her comfort zone, but she does a good overview of all of that. So you should check out that. I mean, you should check out her YouTube video. She has almost like a 70 or almost 80,000 subscribers. So you're probably already subscribing to her if that's your thing. And then the other thing, maybe I'll sort of save this. There was a post by Agnias Barnikas about, so do you want to become an MVP? And that, it's funny because that generated a lot of chatter, and I still go to my LinkedIn, and that was posted a couple of weeks ago. And there's still comments being generated and all of that. Maybe this is something, because that could actually go into another rabbit hole of things. But to really summarize, there's been some posts about, how to become an MVP, what the roadmap should be, trying to treat it more like a certification or something that you can achieve. That's the wrong way to think about it. And that's really the focus of his post. To me, getting the MVP was more the result of work. And what I posted there, and I've said this before, to become an MVP, do you want to become an MVP or do you want to do the stuff that an MVP does? I want to do the stuff that an MVP does. Even when I was at Microsoft, I was doing it because I wasn't an MVP then. Even if I was no longer an MVP, I would still want to do the stuff like the podcasts, the presentations at events, doing the blogging and things like that. MVP, yes, there are benefits. You do get some stuff. There's, a lot of cool things that comes with that program, but it isn't so much something you can work. It isn't something you should be working towards. It should just be something that comes to you. So check out that. We'll put the link into that post, and maybe we'll pick up more in that conversation later, because I think this is a bigger thing. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, just the benefits. I mean, come on. A few Azure credits, a few licensing things. If you accumulated the time that I spend on the content that makes me an MVP over the year, if I did that, if I spent those hours doing my job overtime, I could buy those benefits a million times over. It's not about the benefits, you guys. If you're not doing the thing that means you're doing enough to be an MVP, then you shouldn't be an MVP. It's not worth it. The majority of us, we get to be MVPs because we do this anyways, because we love doing it, not because we're called MVPs for it. And that's how it should be. I know that there's some chatter about how the whole program is watered down and how it's way too easy to get in now and what's happening with the whole program. I don't know. I don't have any insights into that. But I know that some segments, some part of the world, some demographic, it's easier than others. If you're a white man in the US, probably going to be harder because I think that bucket is already kind of full. So, I mean, sure, things like that applies because Microsoft need to be diverse. So there is some kind of imbalance there. I think that's where some of the the chatter and the comments are coming from. But as I said, from an economic point of view, or a kind of what you get from what you give point of view, if that's the way you're looking at it, it's not worth it, really. Make sure you do it for the right reasons and that you're willing to keep it up. Anyone can become an MVP and renew, but if you don't do the work over time, you're not going to be even considered. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Cool. Now, as we should wrap up, speaking of events, there's, of course, as much as I said I wasn't going to do as many this year, here we go. So March 21st, 22nd, Canadian Power Platform Summit happening in Vancouver. Still seats available. Even there's seats available in the workshops. Use PPBoost 15 to get 15% off. Still amazing deals. I think the Copilot Studio one, speaking of which, my gut feeling is that will sell out. So you might want to consider getting on top of that. But there's other great ones as well on PowerFx and ALM. So great opportunity to do some learning if you're in Vancouver or want to do a trip to Vancouver. I'll turn the next one over to you because that's the one you're going to in April.
That's Color Cloud. It's April 24th till 25th. And then, of course, we have a workshop day before. So that's a pre-day workshop on the Thursday. I'm doing the Power Pages from creation to go live whole day workshop on my own. I'm so excited. We have such a great curriculum going and some visitors from some good friends of mine to help us get through the how to make a Power Pages fit for go live. And then I'm doing a session with Andy Wingate on Business Central and Power Pages together. And that's that's going to be awesome. I'm so excited.
Yep. And then I'll be missing out on that. I'll have the major FOMO that weekend for sure. I know. And then in mid-May, Dynamics Con happening in Chicago. I have a session, crash course in pipelines. So that was something we've been dealing with a lot with. I know there's a new learning path from Daniel that I think it was in our list. We didn't mention it. So lots of resources, but check out my session. I can tell you some of the good and the bad and the ugly about pipelines. And then I'm teaming again with Angeliki on this. We're doing redoing the session that we did in Prague about the Ultimate Power Slam Dynamics 365 versus Power Pages. Kind of a very unique way of kind of where to use one versus the other, where they work together and that kind of thing. So that will be pretty exciting on that one. And then the next one happening a few weeks later, Dynamics Minds. And I have a session on burnout, powerlifting, and mental health. So again, I've talked a little bit about this one. This is one I'm a little bit nervous about, but should be good. And then I'm teaming with Matt Snecker and George Dubinsky on a session on, we called it the Portals Cage Match, Power Pages versus the World. So this is going to be, I think that to me is worth the price of admission, the three of us in that one, if I was to go. And then we found out this week, European Power Platform Conference. We have a session together. I have another session as well on Power Pages. And it looks like you and Victor are doing a workshop, but I think I'm helping out with that one as well. So lots going on.
Yeah, one of those things where, do you realize that you have a workshop with Victor? It's like, no, do I? It's like, and I go in and check and I go, Nick, do you realize that you're on it too? And you go, what? I'm on it? It's like, oh, okay. Someone needs to start getting on top of their emails, I think. But we're doing a workshop on Power Pages with Victor. Expect to see those Top Gun suits because we need to wear them enough to kind of, keep it going. So definitely.
Cool.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Right,
You get to do the top tips and tricks of Power Pages together again. That's always fun. So that's kind of my highlight. Even though, I love doing the Top Gun thing with you and Victor. The 10 top tips and tricks for Power Pages is my one I'm looking forward to the most.
Cool.
Okay.
Next episode, March 5th.
March 5th? It scares me to see that. Okay. It goes so fast. I'm blown away. Okay. This is a long one, you guys. A long one where I talk a lot about things I don't know anything about. So please help me out and comment on the thing where you saw this thing and call me out and tell me all the use cases, please, for the things I don't know.
Yep.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Thanks for listening. And if you like this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends and colleagues in the community. Make sure to leave a rating and review of your favorite streaming service, and makes it easier for others to find us. Follow us on the social media platforms and make sure you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your hosts, Ulrika Åkerbeck and Nick Dolman, and see you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news.